Okay, so slope-intercept form is just y equals mx plus b. That's not new, right? And we like slope-intercept form because slope-intercept form gives us what we need. We don't have to look for it like we did in standard form. Okay, the b is your y-intercept, so this one was 2, so on the y-axis I put a point at 2, yeah? Okay, my slope was negative 3 over 4, so I went down 3, right 4, down 3, right 4. So it gives me everything I need. I don't have to solve for anything. Okay, knowing that, I want to remind you that slope is rise over run. And when you go up, it's positive. When you go down, it's negative, yes? When you go left, it's negative. When you go right, it's positive. Things to remember about slope. And another thing I want you to realize is, what if I give you y equals x? It's not a Hoy equation and it's not a Vux equation because it has an x and a y, so it's not a special case. What would be your y-intercept here if it doesn't have a plus or minus? No? 0. Because you could do plus 0 and nothing changes, right? Okay, and what would be your slope? How many x's do you have? 1. So your slope is 1, your y-intercept would be 0, yes? So if it's not all there, you can put it there, okay? Another thing I want to touch base on, which isn't on the notes, but I want to have the conversation, is Hoy-Vux one more time. So Hoy stands for horizontal, 0 slope, y equals equation. And knowing that, we also have Vux. Vux is vertical. Undefined. X equals equation. Okay? Just a reminder on those. So knowing that, let's get started on number 1. If you look at number 1, it says graph the linear equation y equals 2/3 x minus 5. Well, we always need to start with a point. What's my y-intercept here? Negative 5. It's my number by itself. It's my constant. So on my y-axis, be very careful. I've seen lots of people putting them on their x-axis. On your y-axis, put a point at negative 5.
Okay, I think I do.
And knowing that, what's your slope?
2 over 3.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't that be up 2, right 3?
Rise 2, run 3. Yeah, it's positive, positive, so up and right. So from there, I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, one thing I do want you to realize is you can always do opposite, opposite. So I could go down 2, left 3. Well, watch. If I go down 2, left 3, did it bring me back? Yeah, so down 2, left 1, 2, 3. So there's my 4th point. And the reason that works is because this is a positive over a positive, and this is technically a negative over a negative, and 2 negatives makes a positive. So is it the same thing? Yes. So your badges make perfect straight edges. Bless you. And there's that one. Any questions with that? Hopefully this is just a good refresher today. That's what the whole point is, okay? Now this one says the graph of the linear equation 4x plus y equals equals 1, sorry. Is my y by itself? No, so I have to get the y by itself. What do I need to move? And how do I move the 4x? Minus 4x. So then I'm left with positive y equals 1 minus 4x. Now is y by itself? Yes, so now I can graph it with slope-intercept form. So what is my intercept? 1. So on my y-axis, I'm going to put a point at 1. And what is my slope?
Would it be 4 over 1?
Negative 4 over 1. Yes, we always want it to be a fraction. So if it's not a fraction, you always put 1 on the bottom, yes? Now, negative tells me to go down and always go right. Because if you went left, that'd be a double negative, and 2 negatives makes a positive while we have a negative slope. So down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And again, we can do opposite, opposite. So we can go up 4, left 1, which would make that bottom one negative. 2, 3, 4, left 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1. Any questions with that? Y'all, also don't be lazy, draw your lines. Okay, if you don't draw your lines, I will take a point off. Okay? You did the hard part, draw the easy part. It doesn't even have to be perfect. If you don't use a straight edge, that is fine. Okay, this last one, it gives me my y-intercept and it gives me my slope, but not in an equation. But it does tell me to find my equation. So I know slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. So what is m? What's my slope?
Your slope is
1 over 4. X always comes after slope. And what's my y-intercept?
-3.
Minus 3, negative 3, same thing, yes. So you can look here or here. So on my y-axis, I'm going to go to negative 3. And what's my slope? And it's positive, positive, so I'm going to rise 1, run 4. And then I can also do down 1, backwards 4. Any questions with those slope-intercept forms? Okay, what if it says f of x equals? Does that change anything? Is that the same thing as y equals? Yes. Okay, so don't let that stress you out either. Okay, look at the back. Next door does. Okay. On the back we have point slope form. We are going to practice plugging into point slope form. No, you don't actually have to do that to graph it, but it's 2 things that we need to know. We need to know how to graph, and we also need to know how to put it in point slope form, so we're just going to do both. Yes? Okay, it's not hard, so don't stress out. And you don't have to solve for y. You're just plugging in. Yes? Okay, so I'm going to start with plugging in. It gives me my slope and my point. And I know y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And your x1, y1 is your point you're plugging in. x1, y1. Okay, so y minus, what's my y1? 5. Equals m. What's m? Parentheses x minus, what's my x1? Negative 1. Well, here, 2 negatives makes a. So I'm going to rewrite it just because for your notes, I want you to see why it became a plus. But if you just want to make those 2 negatives into a plus sign, that's fine too. I just want you to see why. So if you notice, it looks like a negative 5, but was it a negative 5 we plugged in? Or was it a positive 5? Positive. And it looks like a positive 1, but what did we plug in? A negative 1. So they always look opposite because of the subtraction in your formula. So if I ever gave you a point slope equation, what's my information given here? We'll start with your slope. What's your slope? 1 over 2. And what's the point given? Well, remember, y after y, x. What's the opposite of negative 2? And what's the opposite of positive 4? So just know that if you ever have to take information out of point slope form, you're looking for the opposite, yeah? Cool. Okay, so let's graph it. The point given to me is negative 1, 5. So negative 1, 5. And my slope is negative 2, which is the same thing as negative 2 over 1. And what does that tell me to do?
Down to right 1.
Down to right 1. Perfect. Down to right 1. Okay, and you could go up to left 1, but you don't really need to. You have most of the graph covered, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, one more, and then you'll practice. Graph equation and graph the linear equation when it... Graph equation and graph... Obviously, I should have wrote write the equation and graph the linear equation when it passes through this point and this slope. So again, y minus, well, what is your y1? 3 equals, what's my slope? 4. Parentheses x minus, what's my x1? There you go. So that one was simple because there was no flipping of any signs. So what point was given to me?
2 and 3.
So over 2 up 3. And what is your slope?
4 over 1.
4 over 1, which means?
Up 4, right 1.
Perfect. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. And I can also do down 4, left 1. So down 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1. Any questions with those? Okay, there's a couple things I want to talk about on your practice just because lots of people have been getting stuck. So once y'all are all flipped to your practice, I'm going to go over a couple things to help you go smoother, and then you're good to go. Okay, so on your practice, look at number 4. It says a linear function whose graph has an x-intercept of negative 2, which I want you to realize is negative 2, 0, and a y-intercept of 4, which is 0, 4. Well, this is saying y equals 5x. Well, that has a y-intercept of 0, so that's not my answer. This is a y-intercept of 6, so that's not my answer. This is a hoi, so that's not my answer. This is a quadratic, so that's not my answer. Now looking here, starting with this one, if I were to just plug in one of those points, I could plug in x is negative 2 plus y is 0. Did that equal negative 6? Did it work? Oh. No. So that's not my answer. So look here, because this could be my answer. It has a y-intercept of 4, right? So if we plugged in this point, because we know that point's going to work, let's plug in this point. X is negative 2, so 3 times negative 2 plus 4. What do I want it to equal? What's my y of my point? 0. Did it equal 0?
No.
So that's not my answer either. So let's look at this one. 2 parentheses negative 2 minus 0. Did it give me negative 4?
Yes.
Okay, let's try the other point. 2, 0 minus y, which is 4. Did that work?
Yes.
Yeah, so 4 is G. That's the one that most everybody was getting stuck on. And then cross off G. You will not use multiples. There will be 2 left over. Okay? The rest of them are a little straightforward. Look at number 9. It says f of x equals negative 3. What's that the same as? Y equals negative 3. So don't let the f of x throw y'all off, okay? Now flip to the back. these give you a point and a slope. I want you to write them in slope-intercept form. There's only two of them you don't have to, because these are special cases. This is a zero slope, which is a Hoy or a Vux?
A Hoy.
Hoy. So it's going to be a y equals something equation. Yes? This is a Vux because it's undefined, so I want you to realize this is going to be an x equals something equation. Yes? These three you'll write in this form. Okay, last thing. What point did I give you here? 2, 3. Remember, this is the same thing as saying f of x equals y. X is inside the parentheses, y is outside, so 2, 3. So it's just function notation giving you a point in function notation. Okay, so it's still a point, still a slope. Ready to go.